Namaskar and welcome to Changemakers. I'm Shubhendra Ghosh. Festivals rejuvenate our culture and society. Those are happy times with friends and family. New clothes, rich decorations, elaborate feasts, crackers are perhaps an expression of simple joys of life. But in that spirit of celebrations, are we mindful of how adversely we may be impacting the world around us? Today, let's talk about making celebrations sustainable. Festivities and celebrations are great fun, but what about the trail of waste and pollution that we leave behind? Did you know India produces an average of over 1 lakh metric tons of waste every day? This waste doubles during the festivities, poisoning the land, choking the rivers, polluting the air. Our changemakers offer innovative solutions to these challenges. They are recycling floral waste from places of worship to create fragrant products. They are upcycling old clothes into new fashion statement. They are creating crackers that clean our environment. Our change makers are showing how celebrations and sustainability can truly coexist. Our change makers are making the spirit of celebrations more holistic and eco-friendly. Our first change maker is Phool from Kanpur. Founded by Ankit Agarwal and Prateek Kumar in 2017, Phool is world's first profitable and lean solution to the monumental temple waste problem. They collect over 8 tons of floral waste from temples and other places of worship in Uttar Pradesh on a daily basis. These sacred flowers are handcrafted into charcoal-free incense, organic and biodegradable packaging material through flower cycling technology. The products are handcrafted by women flower cyclers, providing them with predictable and healthy livelihoods. Phool represents genesis of new circular economy model. Inspired by unique intervention, Orthodox temple and religious authorities want to be part of this mission, pointing to a change against a century-old harmful religious practice of dumping temple waste in our holy rivers. Phool has invested into R&D to invent methods to convert temple waste into biodegradable packaging and bio-leathers. The earnest efforts of the team to turn this pious waste collection into a full-blown social enterprise now spans 3 cities. Our next changemaker is Lata Sita from Kolkata. Founded by Meghna Nayak in 2011, Lata Sita is a pioneering design studio creating zero waste and ethically produced fashion using a closed-loop supply chain, hunting down fabric from diverse and sometimes unexpected sources, ranging from treasured private collections to wardrobes of everyday women and even a Durga Puja pandal. Lata Sita champions the circular economy by putting special focus on using anything old and off the grid. The bulk of the collection comes from saris sourced directly from the wardrobes of women. Each piece is lovingly crafted at Lata Sita's Kolkata studio, which functions to the highest standard of ethics and sustainability. Fashion industry is one of the largest polluter globally. The chain from crop to customer leaves a toxic trail unwittingly enabled by us with each purchase. Lata Sita seeks to reverse this culture. Their beautiful offerings are impeccably cut and tailored silhouettes for clothes that will complement all shapes, sizes and ages while maintaining the fun, light-hearted feel that has come to be Lata Sita's signature. Our third changemaker is 21 Fools from Jaipur. Founded in 2012 by Divyanshu Asopa, 21 Fools is a homegrown brand that handcrafts sustainable stationery products, working with farmers, rural craftspersons and artisans from villages of India. Along with sustainable stationery line, 21 Fools has expanded to create eco-friendly products that include cork-produced essentials and reclaimed wood organizers. They've also found ways to make Indian festivals a lot more environmentally sound and innovative, with products which include firecrackers look-alike that grow themselves into plants, seed rakhis and herbal gulal, beach patakas and clay diyas keep our planet pollution-free. For example, anar is embedded with seeds of golden shah tree, colorful charki has seeds of onion seeds embedded, green rocket with embedded seeds of cucumber and green sorrel. They also offer plantable Diwali eco-friendly greeting cards. Handcrafted locally, these plantable eco-friendly seed crackers are made with love by farmers and rural women, self-help groups as part of their livelihood program.
Those were some truly inspiring initiatives. Let's now meet our changemakers, learn more about their work and vision.
Let me welcome Ankit Agarwal, founder Phool, Meghna Nayak, founder Lata Sita, and Divyanshu Sopa, founder 21 Foods. We learned about your innovations. A warm welcome to Changemakers. During festive season, we celebrate as if there is no tomorrow. But the work that you do is very conscious of that tomorrow. In that sense, how do you assess, how do you look at the challenge of celebrations and waste production and pollution in our society? Meghna, if I can come to you first.
Yeah, of course. And a great question, Shubhendu. It's true that while we produce a tremendous amount of waste on a regular basis, it really peaks during festival season, and we have so many festivals in India. But I really think that what is created and is in plain raw sight during these festivals is anyway reflective of how our consumption and production habits at large are anyway. So really, I think there's so much emphasis on the onus to be on the consumer. But really, if we want to make a bigger change, it has to be on the producer and a systemic change. Laws about packaging, laws about waste disposal, segregation, and communication to the public about that. I think that would go a long way than a few of us switching from plastic straws, etc. It really has to be systemic and campaigns, sustained campaigns to consumers to get any habits to change at all.
I have this core belief that festivals are the lifeline of our country, India.
Sure.
And festivals are meant to be celebrated. Now, and if you look, if you go back to history, you will find that most of Indian festivals were sustainable in nature. So, like, for example, with the advent of this 21st century, more packaging, more stuffs, and more machine goods, this is diluted a bit. So, our aim is to simply make that celebration cyclic in nature, so that whatever waste is consumed can go back again and be reused, so that celebrations still remain that celebration, get that color, that light, everything, but it does not cause too much harm to the environment. So that is what we try to do essentially, and that is what my aim is.
Completely agree with Ankit actually on this. That's my core belief too, that Indian economy has been driven by festivals since over centuries, I think. But what has changed in the last 30 years, I would say, post 1990, was that everything became unsustainable. We have moved away from the teaching and learning of our parents and grandparents, and we have started using commercializing festivals in a different way altogether. So it's time for us to actually go back to the roots, go back to understanding how the festivals used to be celebrated. We cannot stop people from celebrating the festivals in the way they want to. But it's all about realizing what little things we can change. For example, what Meghna mentioned about the packaging. It's something that we need to offer to people that, okay, there is a different solution that exists right now, and we can opt for that.
Right. If you can now talk about your individual enterprises, and Ankit, if I can come to you first to talk about Phool. Phool, the story, as we learned, is an inspiring example of waste to wealth and so much more. A lot of times when we witness waste of that magnitude that you engage with, our first reaction is to turn away. How did you and your team decide to engage with it?
See, for me, it was not an easy decision. First of all, I have this Czech friend. His name is Jaipur. And he had come down to India, and we witnessed the sight of people dumping in flowers in the Ganges. And he questioned me that if this river is so revered, why is it so polluted? And there were innumerous reasons. There's fecal sludge, refuse from tanneries, household waste. At that point in time, everything used to get into the river. And then he said that I made all those excuses. Oh, this is River Ganges. It has self-purifying properties. You foreigners won't understand and all that stuff. And then he said that why don't you do something about it? And I was like, this is India. You can't do anything about it. This is not Europe. And that made me really reflect. Does it take someone, an outsider, to question our beliefs and our practices? And I was really restless for the next 5 to 6 months to come. And that made me think, at least let's try and solve it. Hota hai to theek hai, nahi hota to it's a long life, we'll do something else. So that is why I got it.
Right. And over the years, what are the visual impacts of your work on the environment and River Ganga, which sort of you engage with so closely?
See, I would say the biggest impact is that there are at least many people like us now who are trying to replicate the model in different parts of the country. So that I would say is the biggest change, as Meghna mentioned, the systemic change that has happened. That's one. Now the government is thinking about policies around temple waste disposal, from your biggest temple to your Tirupati, to your Kashi Vishwanath, to your Bodh Gaya. Now there is that change which earlier people wouldn't even think about. That's one. Second is we ensure that not a single flower goes into the Ganges in Kanpur city and in Varanasi. So that another, like there's this, the ghats are clean, it's swanky, you don't see that. And people, I myself see the River Ganges like 6 years back, and today it's so much different. And that is something that brings a lot of happiness and joy and keeps us going on.
Right. Also, Ankit, I'm curious to learn, your team collects waste flowers from a temple, mosques and other places of worship. How has the relationship of the people who would earlier dispose of this waste flower, how has their relationship with the waste changed after the work that you do?
Actually, surprisingly, there was a lot of encouragement, not only from the people, but also from the temple communities itself. Because see, at the end of the day, we are able to generate employment through this waste. And when someone sees that any person is getting livelihoods through this, there's this whole perspective of looking at things change. And in the Hindu Aarti, there's this line which says, Tera Tujhko Arpan. That means that whatever belongs to the gods goes back to the gods. So again, where we're making incense from these flowers, it's cyclic in nature, and this whole cycle is complete, that chakra. So that really has like got an eye attention. People like really like that, yes, this is made from waste and we are contributing to the environment. We're contributing to the society. So it's been helpful in that way.
Right. Meghna, if I can come to you, talk about Lata Sita. You are redefining what fashion can be. Festivities usually are associated with discarding the old clothes, getting new clothes, but you're also in many ways challenging that sort of ideology. Zero waste fashion is new for many of us. Help us understand what it is and how did you go about it?
Well, it was a while ago when I learned that fashion is actually the second largest polluting industry in the world, second only to oil. And that was a pretty stunning fact, because when we think of the oil industry, it's easy to imagine the fallout. But when we think of fashion, pretty clothes on our backs, we don't necessarily make that connection. And in fact, the entire system, the entire industry associated with fashion, whether it is right from farming and growing the fibers like cotton, to how it's processed, to dyeing, to weaving, dyer communities, weaver communities, very chemical intensive or very exploitative. And even when we go into sort of making garments, the amount of waste produced, not just that, but garment workers are some of the most poorly treated and paid workers in the world. And right down to selling and consumption, and then again the cycle begins because fast fashion has led to a lot of use and throw.
So Meghna, it's fascinating to learn about the raw material for your work. It's almost like opening a treasure trove,
Yes.
Old saris, heirloom, even Durga Puja Pandal material. It's fascinating. Tell us a little about how you engage, how you work with all this material.
So my aha moment was really when I realized that there's a huge, as you mentioned, treasure trove of old saris lying around in the cupboards of almost every Indian woman, and that it is a huge untapped resource that was just lying there decomposing even as we are producing new cloth, and that there was no need for that. And this is our country's textile heritage after all, you know. And not just that, as you mentioned, the puja pandals, there are so many unusual and, interesting sources of fabric that just go to waste. So the idea was to activate it and use any fabric that I use should not be found ordinarily in a shop. All the cloth that comes to me is sourced from individuals, from, secondhand markets, from household linen such as curtains, bed covers, sofa covers, clothes, old jeans, shirts. So we go where no one else, we work with the materials that no one else really wants to use, right from a humble curtain to a heirloom sari worth lakhs, So our challenge is to revive, restore, add some really good design, because we don't want to take these materials and then make something that is again use and throw.
Sure.
It should be a product that is a quality product for a lifetime of use.
Right.
And that's our challenge, to let you choose old, because, it's a very aspirational thing. In India, there's a lot of negative attitudes as well towards old cloth. As we were talking about, both Ankit and Divyanshu mentioned that, the festive season is about buying new. And that is the whole point. It's deeply ingrained in our culture. So, there is a lot of negative attitudes towards secondhand. So it's a very interesting space to be in. It's a little difficult, but also very rewarding when you actually get to change someone's mind through design. And
Right.
It's so irresistible that they will buy it at the end of the day, or they will order it, because it is better than the options that are made unsustainably in front of them. At the end of the day, people are not coming to me because they want to save the environment. They genuinely just want to look good. That's what buying clothes is about. So it's about tapping into that and trying to change consumer habits, which are, some of the hardest to change.
Right. And just a shout out to the kind of work that you do. The pocket squares that I use, these are usually my mother's old silk saris.
Oh,
And
great.
she has sort of shared some pieces of which with me. So, yeah, I sort of understand the
wonderful.
connect with one can have with old clothes. Do your clients also develop a sort of new relationship with the old clothes because you rework them into something fascinating and modern? How does their relationship with old clothes change, Meghna?
So, it's interesting because clients come with all kinds of perspectives. And I noticed before I started Lata Sita, something that gave me the idea to start Lata Sita was seeing women who are very much into fast fashion, buying from Zara, H&M, etc., and discarding their clothes fairly often, was still hanging on to their mother's saris carefully for years and years, despite not wearing them. So that pointed to an emotional connection with the fabric in the first place, which was very powerful. Because as we were saying earlier, consumer behavior is one of the hardest to change in the world. So you really have to use something beyond, something. If you can base an emotional connection with the customer, then you have a small chance of actually influencing anybody. Because let's not kid ourselves, it's not easy, and a lot of people buy sustainable just as a gimmick or because it's their true commitment towards changing that behavior is harder.
Right.
So definitely the power of these old textiles is brilliant, and anything that I make is actually kept by the person for years. They have a very different relationship with it. I make and sell the clothes from the fabric that I collect from all over, but I also have a custom line where people bring me their old saris and I make something for them from that. Now, whether it's made from their old sari or someone else's, I see that people tend to perceive these products very, very differently. They wouldn't throw it away so easily. And I think that itself that's a great sign.
Right. That's great to learn. Divyanshu, if I can come to you, learn about 21 Fools. Traditionally households look forward to inviting the Raddi Wala at the end of the month, put together all the waste paper in the household and give it away. But you seem to be breaking that sort of status quo, that chain with plantable paper. So tell us about the name 21 Fools and the work that it does.
I will be honest, actually, I was part of the problem. When we started 21 Fools, we were running a greeting card company or e-commerce company that can help people send greeting card to their loved ones. And people used to buy greeting cards from us. They used to buy stationery from us. And apart from the regular customers, we had big corporate customers also who were ordering the stationery products. After almost 18 months of business, we realized every month, every 2 months, we had to throw away the waste material. We had to throw away the paper, the leftover stationery products and all those things. And soon we realized that we were actually not solving any major problem as such, and we were instead creating a big problem of waste. And at that moment, we took a decision to completely shift the material that we use to create our products. And we started working on a paper which is made from waste cotton and waste paper. Primarily, our paper is made from waste cotton. And during this process, when we were creating this paper, working with the craftsman community in Sanganer, जो ये actually काम जैसा मैं पहले भी बता रहा था कि that we used to have wonderful ways of where we used to practice sustainability in a better way. And these craftsmen community from Sanganer, Rajasthan, used to create paper from waste cotton since centuries, since over 300, 400 years or so. The Raja Man Singh and the Mughals, everybody used to use these khata books that used to be made by this community in Jaipur. And they still retain the ink from those paper doesn't fade away so easily. And they still exist in the libraries and the documentation of these families. So we started making this paper with the community, and during that process, we started adding different materials in this paper. One of them was flower petals, which is collected from the waste material, and the second was seeds that we tried, and from there, plantable seed paper was born. It's not I wouldn't say that it's a concept that we introduced in India. Sure. There are companies in US as well as in Canada, they are doing it. But it was a different concept, and we had to sell it really hard. We had to convince people that actually it grows, because many people don't buy it so easily. They probably assume that it's a marketing gimmick or something like that. So we had to approach the companies. We had to go to their offices with the pot and with the water and the soil and our paper, and then soak it in the water and show it to them that actually if planted in the right way, the germination happens and the paper grows into a plant. So from there, I think the core concept was born.
Right. And Divyanshu, because we're talking about sustainable celebrations, who would have thought one day we would have crackers which clean the environment and not pollute it? You're changing really the character of crackers and patakas as we understand, and thereby also celebrations. How did you think of it, and what kind of response have you been getting from people who buy these beach patakas?
So the first time that actually we introduced the beach pataka, it was the first year of the pandemic in 2020, and we were completely out of business in that year. I remember because most of the corporates were shut, the offices were closed, and the need for those corporate gifting stationery was really less. But people were coming to the website and they were buying small products here and there. And so we thought, why not do something interesting? And we started creating products around Holi and Rakhi. And eventually when that Diwali came up, we were working with a farmer and craftsman community from Madhya Pradesh, Chhindwara district. And we basically thought of how we can make people aware that finally the firecracker is not a part of our Diwali celebration. And it never used to be, when the concept of Diwali was introduced back then. It is a very new concept, and it's harming us more than actually the kind of joy that it gives to us. So I totally understand that it's a part of our nostalgia, it's part of our childhood, but that is just 20-30 years. Before that, firecrackers were not into the fashion. So using our raw material that I mentioned before, the plantable paper, the waste cotton paper, and the seeds, which are basically organically taken from they are organic seeds from the farmer community that we were working with, and we created this concept where the design is taken right from our childhood, but it serves a different purpose altogether. And the feedback on the first year was not good. We had a very small batch that we made, and we were able to sell it off clearly, but we got a really strong backlash because people, I think, were not ready for it in the first year, and people had their apprehensions that we are trying to change the culture in some way. So we were ready for it, and we knew that backlash is going to come from a particular sector. But there were a large chunk of people, specifically people who are conscious, people who are buying products from sustainable brands, from their, they believe in sustainability, their core values. So I think we got a good feedback from there onwards, and that's how we decided to carry forward the beach paratha concept.
All right. On that note, Divyanshu, Meghna, Ankit, thank you very much for joining us on Changemakers, sharing your fantastic stories. Our best wishes to your amazing teams.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great chatting with our changemakers. Come to think of it, while each one of them is a successful entrepreneur, they are solving a vital problem for us, for you and me. Then shouldn't we join them in this endeavor? Whether it is managing our waste or making better use of our old clothes or choosing eco-friendly ways of celebrations, festivities remind us how we share this world. Together, we can be the change makers. Till we meet again, Namaskar.